And Joe, 20 hours and counting. Is the fact that Cory Booker is doing something like this, in this form, a measure of how difficult perhaps it is now for the Democrats to get the attention, the airtime, versus what we see from Donald Trump and his administration, all of those press conferences, all of the access that the media have to him and his administration?
Yeah, Anita, I thought this was a bad April Fool's Day joke until I realized, no, it was actually happening. What a silly stunt. And at some point, I would have said Cory Booker is a serious member of the Democrat leadership, and this is just kind of ridiculous. Yes, the Democrats have to really figure out how to deal with Donald Trump. And it's been 10 years he's been on the scene, and they still haven't figured it out. So right now, it seems like they're resorting to cursing on television, being crass, things like storming Trump Tower and other violence. And they really have to take a step back and think about what they're for. The Democrats have
the content isn't ridiculous, though, is it? You say the form in which he's doing it is ridiculous, in your opinion, but the content isn't, surely?
Actually, I think it is. What you just showed. Social Security, Donald Trump has said so many times he is not touching Social Security. That's a scare tactic from the left they've tried for 20 years. The Alien Insurrection Act, that's not an emergency power. So right off the bat, in the 30 seconds you just showed, they were absolute nonsensical points. So that's what happens when you spend 20 hours talking in something that should be communicated in 20 minutes. And so I would say, Cory Booker, look, you're a serious guy. I respect you. But this kind of stunt is not the way to get to Donald Trump. You've got to figure out a better way.
Conscious that we're talking about all of this in a bit of an information vacuum because we just don't know. Many things have been floated in various reporting, but we just don't know what the president's going to announce tomorrow. But Joe, do you think it's about that sort of carrot and stick thing and, as President Trump says, the unfairness as he sees it and how the US fares with overseas countries in that balance of payments? Or is it something else? Is he interested in delivering a major economic shock to the world, a reset, devaluing the American currency to make America more competitive?
Yeah, Katrina, I think Kurt's right. I think it's largely a bluff. It's largely a negotiating tactic. Donald Trump loves to talk about tariffs as radically changing the economy, possibly even replacing the income tax. That's not going to happen. And the problem with this kind of threat is you can only use it once. So if you extract some concessions from other countries, you lower trade barriers, things like that, you really can't kind of come back to the table. One thing I will say, and I've stopped underestimating Donald Trump because he often comes out ahead. I personally do not like the position this is putting America in the eyes of our allies across the world. Canada, Mexico, Europe. It might play to an American base that's very nationalistic and kind of closed borders in terms of the economy, but it's no doubt lowering our stature in the eyes of the world. And look, we have real enemies out there. We need to keep our friends on our side, and doing this kind of thing is not going to accomplish that.
Well, let's bring back in Joe Moreno and Kurt Bardella, who are still with us here. Joe, when you hear the words from the mayor there, and I have to say we've heard that opinion reflected many times across our channel in the last few days from those who are kind of in the front line of these tariffs, and they're all against the prospect. What do you think the president is thinking here in terms of the bigger picture that he must see?
Well, I mean, first off, look, that dictator label is so tired. Right, it has been used for months and months, and the left really should stop saying that. It didn't work in the election, it didn't work during the campaign, and to keep using it just makes them look kind of ridiculous. How does a tariff policy make you a dictator? Like, it's nonsense. As far as people, of course people are unsure, but again, the mayor just said he's for fair trade. Well, if we're not being treated fairly by another country, a tariff might be the solution to make it more fair, to equalize it, or bring them to the table to stop whatever it is barrier that they're imposing on us. So, of course, people are worried. Of course, the economy is jittery. But at the end of the day, you can't judge the president over a few weeks or a few months. He will be judged absolutely on his economic record, but that's not until the midterms. So for the time being, we can all get upset. We can all be nervous. We can be positive or negative. At the end of the day, we really don't know how it's going to play out. And we have to have some faith that the White House knows what it's doing.
The order directs the Federal Trade Commission to work with the Attorney General to ensure that competition laws are appropriately enforced in the concert and entertainment industry. The order also calls on the FTC to ensure price transparency at all stages of the ticket purchase process, including the secondary ticketing market. Well, as Anita said, Kid Rock was there with the president yesterday, and Let's hear some of what he had to say.
Like anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows that it's a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for, but more importantly, these bots. You know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400% or 500% markup.
Let's get a final thought from the panel. Joe, I think whether you voted for President Trump or not back in November, this is going to be very popular with everyone pretty much.
Oh, gosh, yes, Anita. I mean, no one likes scalping, right? No one likes to pay hundreds of dollars more for a ticket than they need to. Look, I think two quick takeaways. One, as a conservative, we are not used to seeing musicians, Hollywood figures, billionaires on our side. So Donald Trump has tapped into a market of people we're not usually accustomed to having on our team. The other thing is, too, it can be overdone. And I remember during the campaign cringing as Kamala Harris over and over and over again rolled out Hollywood endorsements. So I would say, Donald Trump, good for you for tapping into a different market, particularly for young men voters, but be careful. It can be overdone, and you don't want to be seen like a Hollywood president who's not actually connected with the people.